Good morning, guys. More energy. You are going to have a long day, right? So actually, we didn't believe people would sit in a room, 250 people, without any guarantee of a Club Mahindra holiday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So thank you for coming early morning. As Rajat and Payal mentioned, that we kind of thought of this just about 20, 25 days back. And we had planned it actually on Sunday, that is tomorrow. But we know that India-Pakistan match is more important than your MBA. So we didn't want to compete. Great. So Saturday, no problem. You're here. I'm sure all of you are looking for an MBA. You'd not spend an entire day here without your MBA. How many of you are done with your GMAT already? That is not very exciting. So there was a lot of raise of hands when Rajat asked about people preparing for their GMAT with e-GMAT. That was very encouraging. I hope you are going to take your GMAT in the next month or so, because when I talk to candidates, some of our candidates are sitting here. Good that they started their preparation maybe a month in advance. Some people started in April. So that is why if 250 people sitting in this room, only 5 of you are done with your GMAT, you really need to think ahead of time. You need to kind of boost your energy in terms of taking the GMAT in the next 1 month, 1.5, if you are to target round 1 deadlines, right? And I'm sure all of you do have the round 1 deadline on mind, okay? So this session is going to take you through the broad roadmap on how to approach this entire next 4 or 5 months, because the first set of deadlines are going to fall in between from September to, sorry, I'm getting disturbed. Okay, so from mid-September to mid-October. And the idea is, if you are going to apply from mid-September to mid-October, you hardly have 3 months, right? 3 months means if you take about a month to take your GMAT, you will have about 60 days to work on your application, okay? And 60 days, candidates come to us, say, hey, I want to apply to 5 schools, 7 schools. 5 schools, 60 days means 12 days per school. Is that right? That is not a good idea, okay? So you need to, people who get into top schools, I'm sure, how many of you want to get into Harvard? Okay, great. So if you have to get into top schools, you want to target round 1 deadlines. And 12 days, 15 days is not what you want to spend on your application, right? So that way, it's important that you plan your time well in advance. You are able to, you know what you are going to go through the entire next 3 months, 4 months. Even if you're targeting round 2 deadlines, you would want to understand how do you plan your time. And this session is about, of course, making you aware of what are the things you should be prepared for. We are not going to get into a lot of details on each of them, because through the day there will be experts who will guide you through that. There are different panels, there are different workshops, like the question asked about ISB and IIM 1-year programs. So we'll have a panel with admissions officers from ISB and IIM talking about their programs. So there's a lot you will learn through the session. So we'll not do a lot of Q&A. There's more to help you understand and get a broad idea of how should you plan your time ahead, okay? And first things first, you have to take the test. So anyone told you, or that the candidates coming to me and asking, I want to get into a school, but can I get in without GMAT or GRE? Any school that is taking you without a GMAT or GRE, chances are very high they're not getting students. Okay, you don't want to go there. So you have to take the test. If you were thinking of just taking TOEFL and getting in somewhere, these are schools probably you don't want to be in. Okay, so take the test. Plan your test, of course, you're planning that. But GMAT, GRE, schools, I mean, often I get asked, what is preferred, GMAT or GRE? Schools don't have a preference. If they accept a score, they are good with it. If they don't accept it, you take the GMAT. But there is, I mean, except in CR, there are not many schools who don't accept the GRE. You may have to take the TOEFL as well, but it's important to know where you're applying, because often there are candidates who apply to a set of 5, 7 schools, but don't really need the TOEFL. Okay, so even if one school on your list needs the TOEFL, you will probably want to take it, right? So you plan for it in advance, not a very difficult test. College transcripts, something very basic, but I've seen candidates mess it up. They're about to submit their application, they don't have the transcripts. They think the mark sheet that was given to them at the time of, immediately after the exams and the set of 6, sheets, that is not your transcript. Transcript is something that is typically a consolidated report of your entire undergrad or postgrad degree. So approach your university, get the transcripts. Some universities take, I know someone who took 2 months to get their transcripts. Indian universities work in funny ways. So you want to apply for it now when you are relatively free, not 1 month before your deadline when you don't have time at all. Resume, we are going to have a resume workshop. Balakrishna will take you through the different elements of a resume and how important it is. But you need a resume now, not when you are about to submit your application, not when you are probably looking to build your application, because I will come to that in terms of networking. You need to reach out to schools where you're looking to apply to. And if you're looking to apply to certain schools, the first thing they will ask is, the first thing when you connect with them, they will ask is, okay, can I have a copy of your resume? You can't give them one resume now and one resume another 2 months later, right? So you need a resume now. You reach out to alumni, you reach out to current students. You probably want to have a good resume. You certainly want to have a good first impression, right? So that way, it's important that you start working on your resume. Even if you are working on your GMAT, I see that very few have taken the GMAT. No problem, focus on your GMAT. But it doesn't take a lot of time. You can take it slow, but get your resume in the next 20 days, 25 days, so that you start connecting with people. Application essays, again, this is one place where you can tell your story, because when you take the CAT, get a 99 percentile or not, and I've seen people 99.99 didn't get anywhere, any of the IIMs of their choice, because they didn't have these application essays. They might have done great things, but they didn't have a story to tell. I had a candidate who got married at 17. He was from a village in Punjab, and later became the CFO of one of the regions of Vodafone in India. Okay, so he has a story to tell, because to get married at 17, handle all the personal pressures, and then go up the corporate ladder in about 10, 12 years is a big deal. And business schools internationally appreciate that you have done great things in life beyond just getting a 99 percentile on CAT, right? Recommendations, again, another important element. I bring this up now. You may not need to work on it now, but I bring this up now because a lot of candidates take a recommendation from their professors, from their managers, just an open letter saying, hey, this is a great guy, and probably an entire page filled with that. But schools will give you a format. You have to follow that format. So don't take an open recommendation from your professor. And if you're applying to a good school, generally they prefer that you take it from someone you have professionally worked with. So someone who knows you well, and not someone who knows you only sitting in a class like this. Okay. Interview, again, an important element. Different people interview you. There are alumni who interview on behalf of schools. There are admissions officers who interview. Wharton has the group interview. IMT Switzerland has the assessment day. So the different formats, not something you should be too concerned about right now. But why do I bring it up again at this point is because you need to start connecting with people. And we have had candidates who met one of the admissions officers at a coffee chat, and this is the person who interviewed you. Now imagine the comfort level when you are interviewing with someone who you already had a coffee with. Okay. So that is why you need to be aware that when you talk to people, keep in mind they are probably one of the people who might end up interviewing you, okay? And then, of course, you've submitted everything, and then the long wait. So how many of you applied last year? Any re-applicants here? Oh, interesting. So typically, a school like ISB has about 25% re-applicants, and this room has 0. Great. Okay. Okay, how do you shortlist the schools? Everyone talks about rankings, right? So, and all the candidates we work with, they say, yeah, Prashant, I want to apply to SEEPS, I want to apply to XYZ school. Why? Because it's in the top 10. Okay, top 10, so the funny part is, if you take the 4 rankings, the 4 popular rankings, US News, Economist, Forbes, and FT, and you make a list of top 20 schools, you will end up with a superset of 50 schools. Right? So which is the top 20? There is, I was looking at FT, there's something called Fudan University, which was not there on the rankings till now. It has appeared this year. And it is ranked better than Tepper and UT Austin and Emory. Now, if you get a CMU Tepper, and if you get a Fudan, are you going to take Fudan because it's ranked, it has 10 ranks higher than Tepper? Not really. So then don't approach it in a way that, okay, I'll look at a ranking and apply to a school because it is good in ranking, and that is where, again, I repeat, connecting with the school, connecting with alumni is important. So, of course, Harvard is the best school, ranked best consistently, no doubts about it. All of us want to get into Harvard if given a chance. But should we all apply to Harvard? Probably not, because, and I was happy to see that a few people raised their hands, not everyone, because we have to understand our own potential, our own constraints, strengths, and priorities. If a 2-year MBA doesn't suit me, I may not need Harvard. I may be happy with a 1-year MBA, which is okay. Harvard doesn't have a 1-year MBA. So you have to assess what do you want from your MBA, not the brand, but how do you see your career growing after you are done with your MBA. And there is a lot of self-introspection. There is a lot of science that goes behind it. So don't just go by brands. Look at what you want. And that is an important element in your school selection. You can't really apply to a lot of schools. One strategy is, okay, let me apply to 15 schools. If I get into a top 5, very good. Otherwise, I have the 15th rank also. But how much does it cost to apply to a school? How much is a typical US school application fee? Anyone, any guesses? $200 to $250. Yeah, so if you apply to 5 to 6 schools, you're spending $1 lakh just on your application. Plus, if you have not used what Sarah mentioned, the 5 free, the option to send your scores to 5 schools free of cost, you will probably end up spending about $35 extra to send your scores to each school, which means you don't want to apply to 15 schools. And believe me, there are candidates who come to us saying, I want to apply to 15 schools. So you should have a strategy behind it. You should have a plan in terms of what is going to be my spread, and of course manage your time, because it costs not just money but also a lot of time. So as we calculated, you already had just about 12 days for one application if you applied to 5 or 6, imagine 15. So how many schools does an average candidate apply to? So Nupur and I are members of EGAC. EGAC does this beautiful thing called the survey, which, so this year there were 1,000 applicants who applied, who filled in our survey. And we asked them a lot of questions, and one of them was how many schools you applied to. So any guesses how many schools an average candidate applies to? 5? Yeah, pretty close. I wanted to get a gift on this, but everyone got it right. So 4.5, you can't really apply to half a school, but the point is that's how averages work. So the idea is, yes, 4 to 5 schools. If you apply to 5 or 6 schools, if you plan it well, you should be able to get into a good school. So don't try to stretch yourself too thin in terms of time. Plan it well. School shortlisting is very important, not just pick things from ranking and apply there. So what should be your strategy around school shortlisting? First, ask yourself, what do you want from your MBA? I'll come to cost, but I've had candidates who got into a certain school and then realized, oh, it costs 1.5 CR. I can't afford it. So where was your research when you actually applied there and invested almost $1 lakh applying to schools, right? So you should know where you're applying. You should know how much can you afford. You should know whether you see yourself in that country in the medium to long term. You should know if it is a 1-year MBA or a 2-year MBA you want. You should know if there is a particular career stream that you want, and location is important again. So does your school, or is your school placed in a location where there are enough companies to support your career plans after that? Okay, so you land up in a very big brand, but there are no companies around that are around probably healthcare. And then you are someone who has always worked in healthcare, so you would be better off staying in, let's say, a place like Nashville, which has about 300 healthcare companies, right? Now, connecting with your dream schools, this is my favorite stuff because everyone, gets it wrong. And believe me, 99.9% of the candidates we've worked with haven't done it right. If they have tried to connect with schools, they are happy that, hey, I went to the QS fair, I went to XYZ fair, there were 20 people, I could talk to the admissions officer, but then no idea if there is a personal connect. I could talk to someone in the admissions team. I could get an alum from LinkedIn, but then that alum was from a healthcare profile, whereas you are from a finance profile. So connecting with that alum didn't help much, but you're happy that I've connected with an alum. I can write his name in my essay, right? It doesn't work that way. So if you're keen to get into consulting, connect with, it's possible that I can imagine it's very difficult when you really reach out to people on LinkedIn and people don't reply. So 15 people you reach out, and LinkedIn also constrains if you're not a LinkedIn premium member. So you can't really reach out to a lot of people. But you reach out to people and then they don't reply, and then you stop bothering them. But you get one response, make the best use of that. So you get someone from healthcare, make a good impression, make them feel that you are someone because all alum want good people in their school. So they really want you in their school. Make a good impression, have a good conversation. Don't start asking, what should I write in my essay? How did you do your essay? Okay, so talk to them about the school. Everyone loves to talk about their school. And then go ahead and ask them if they could connect you with probably someone who got into consulting from the school, or reach out to admissions office and ask them if they could connect you with the president of the consulting club, and they will be happy to tell you about what are the opportunities, what are the competitions, what are the connect with the industry that a consulting club can give you. Okay. So visit the school. A lot of times you will get emails that you are welcome to the school, but then it's in New York. How do you go there? So for international students, it can be very difficult. So don't worry, don't bother too much. If you are traveling to New York for work, if you're traveling to a nearby city, yes, do take the extra effort to travel to New York. If you are in DC, yes, go to New York, go to NYU if that's your dream school. But probably don't spend 2 lakhs just visiting the school. If that's not on your plans, yes, if you can afford it, why not? But don't feel compelled to do that. Okay. There are other ways, great ways to visit the school. First, the great ways to connect with the school. First thing is create a login. So I see candidates, they know that I'm going to apply to, let's say, a Cambridge, but they don't even have a login on the website. So if you create a login on the portal, they start sending you emails. So do you know which 2 schools are going to be in Bangalore in the next 1 month? Which 2 schools in the top 10? Stanford and Harvard. Can we have a gift for him, sir, please? So in this room, only probably 10 people knew that Stanford and Harvard are going to be in Bangalore in the next 1 month. Okay, why? Probably because they're not interested in them, but then even in the schools you are interested in, have you created a login on their portal so that you are updated if there is a webinar that is going to happen? If they are going to be in your city, you connect with them. Okay, so that is the first thing and the most basic thing. Without much effort, you can do that. Create some extra logins, no problem. You learn from these schools when they come to your city. Attend webinars when they send so a lot of schools track how many people have attended webinars, how many people have opened their email, something as basic as, I'm sure a lot of you are techies and you know that email opens can be tracked. And a lot of schools do that. They appreciate that you are following them, you are opening their emails, you are attending their webinars. So again, great way to, and these are very, very little things that candidates don't know that they matter. They just focus on their GMAT and application, but then following the school, attending their webinars, scheduling meetups when they are here. I talked to, during my interaction with someone in one of the top 10 schools, one thing they clearly brought up is, we had 2 very good candidates, but one had scheduled a meetup when I was in Bangalore, the other had not, so we preferred the other one. Both were good, both had great GMAT, great essays, but there's a personal touch that comes in when you connect with the school. Reach out to alumni. I covered this, how to reach out to alumni, how to not bother them with irrelevant questions. Talk to them about things they love. Talk to current students. Now, building your application. There's always this essay prompt that you have, but I would insist on reading between the lines. What do I mean by that? For example, INSEAD has a question on if you had to stay with the same company. I'm not wording it in the exact way, but if you had to stay in the same company for another 2 years, where do you see yourself, what position, et cetera, et cetera. Now, yes, you will talk about, logically you will say, I think you're stuck sometimes, but then one group will say that, yeah, I'm going I've had good growth in the past, but then next 2 years I see hitting the glass ceiling, probably it's stagnating, and then that's why I want an MBA, which also gives an impression that you're looking for an exit route than an MBA. Whereas another set of candidates will say that, hey, I'm doing great, I'm going to be promoted next year, and they want to show everything positive, but the question is, why do you need an MBA then? Okay, so by reading between the lines, what I mean is, when you are stating, and I would prefer that you show how you're going to do exciting things in the next 2 years, but also go on to say that these exciting things are going to happen all right, but then there is further growth, or there is a probably different kind of growth that I'm looking for myself in my career, and add a small para at the end. That kind of gives a good closure to your essay, instead of just answering the question and being happy about it, because it's not a CBSE exam. So you have to go beyond what is being asked. Look at, package your essays, don't consider them in isolation, answer, so there are things that you may have explained in other areas of your application, don't repeat it too much, use the space to add extra stuff. Read your essays, you'll be amazed how when you wrote something, you were very happy about it, read it after 10 days, probably during another part of the day, in the morning after coffee, and you will find that, oh, I can improve it. Okay, so read it once, read it twice, read it 20 times, but read it as many times as you want, and you will see the improvement. Choose your recommenders wisely. As I said, don't choose your professors, talk to them. Often, any recommender would have worked with several people in the office. They may not remember all the awesome things you have done. So it's good to have a one-to-one chat, explain the process, explain that these are, kind of remind them of things that you have done with them, and let them highlight what they think about you, but then at least you ensure that they don't miss out on something great that you've done. And pay attention to every detail. So for example, Stanford has a 750-word essay. You're happy that, hey, if there's a big essay, I've handled it well. You're so tired, and then there is another 200-word short write-up there, and often candidates ignore it. Stanford, everything is going to be important. So pay attention to every little detail. It is important. Don't take anything lightly. Duke has a 2-line. Some schools have a 50-word answer. They are not there just for beautification. They are there because they mean something, and there are people who are putting an effort to read it. So you put an effort to make it perfect. And this happens always. You submit the application just in time. But there are candidates who realize, oh, I don't have my photo. The school needs a photo. I don't have, there's an integrity statement that is to be signed and uploaded. I don't have a scanner, or I don't have a way to upload it. So do it well in advance, so that you know last minute while uploading or while submitting, if there's anything, you have a couple of hours or probably a couple of days to handle it, right? And then we have the interview and admit, preparing for the interview. Obviously, there's a lot of preparation that goes anyway when you're working on your application, because everything you do on your application is helping you to prepare for that interview, because they're going to ask about your work, about your career. But then the idea is you have to put in extra effort to prepare for the interview. What I see the biggest challenge is, you know the content, you have the content, but there is a stamina. You can run on the treadmill very fast for 10 minutes. Can you run for 30 minutes? So when you are interviewing with someone, you have to constantly speak and think for 30 minutes, which is difficult, I can imagine. So the point is, you have to practice a lot. It's an important day. Everyone does. Everyone prepares. So practice a lot. Build that stamina to speak for 30 minutes, to think for 30 minutes, to be your best for 30 minutes. And who interviews you? Again, something that is known to you. There are alumni interview. There are admissions officers interview. As international candidates, more often than not, you have a Skype interview if you have worked with applied to an international school. There is something called a blind interview, where the interviewer just has your CV. So you have to touch upon you have to put in that extra effort to communicate. Don't assume that they have read my application. Often schools mention on their website that this is a blind interview. So put in that extra effort to tell them more about your stories, and that's why most of the international schools have something called a behavioral interview. So they don't ask you just random questions, but they put it in a format where, hey, can you tell me an instance where you had a difference of opinion with your teammate? Now, you're probably not prepared for this, but then these are instances, because if you've worked with teams, it's difficult to believe that you've worked with teams and you never had a difference of opinion. So these are behavioral questions that often schools resort to. And then once you have the admit, you are able to negotiate scholarships, and that's where you apply to a couple of extra schools and get. I mean, if you're planning to apply to 3 schools, don't mind applying to 5 and get that feel that yes, I have a scholarship, and then I can also talk to my other school, which may not have given me a scholarship. So these are the cost benchmarks, just not something that is a secret. It's all out there on the website. People don't just look at it. So be aware of what you're going to spend, but it's not difficult. Or your decisions shouldn't be just based on cost, because there are several candidates who get. Rajat talked about the amount of scholarships. So there are several candidates we have had got 100% scholarship, 50% scholarship. So if you get that, so take that chance, push yourself a bit, but don't apply to all the schools hoping that you will get a scholarship, because if you don't, then you will get admits, but you won't be able to afford it. But there are other ways to finance your MBA. There are scholarships, as I said. There are collateral-free loans provided by universities. So it's not provided by university as such, but they have arrangement with local banks to do that. So top universities especially have it. Universities like Kellogg, Duke, they have arrangement with banks, so you don't have to run around. There are collateral-free loans provided by institutes like, or organizations like Prodigy Finance. They sponsor you when you get an admit in a top school. There are standard bank loans in your country, and then of course you have your rich dad if you have. So that is one. But then it's interesting that some people are crowdsourcing their funds, crowdfunding their MBA. Some of them have been successful. So if you're creative enough, if you can convince 1,000 people to give you $10,000 each, why not? Great. So that's all from me for today, for this session especially. Of course, as I said, we will have we'll talk a lot with different panels, different people, and you will learn through it. You will get your questions answered. And if you have any specific questions about your profile, anything, feel free to catch me there. Thank you.